see how this goes. All right. I think we're moving.
All right.
We're
Sounds
recording.
good. Yeah, it says recording
Cool.
in the left. So,
Sweet.
hey, Chris.
Cool. Hey, Dave, thank you for jumping in and joining me this morning. For those of you that don't know, this is Dave Armstrong, and it's 8 a.m. here in our time zone because Dave and I share a time zone, which is cool. Dave's an early riser like me, and we were trying to like chat a little bit. I reached out to a couple people seeing like, hey, like, what do you guys like about what's happening right now, and what can we do a little bit better? And Dave is really good. One of the things I like about Dave is that he's very good at giving feedback, both positive and like critical feedback. And this was kind of like a cool idea that I thought we should probably do. So Dave being awesome and also like willing to be a guinea pig here is our first like interview. So I can't wait to like share a little bit about Dave and Dave's life and stuff. So I have a couple questions for you, Dave.
Yeah,
Before we don't jump into all that stuff, can you like just talk for maybe 30 seconds, a minute, I don't know, however long you want, about a little bit about you and like what is important to you, some things that you think people should know about you, like maybe anything about your work or just stuff that you want to talk about.
yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chris. Well, of course, thanks for having me. Right. Like I've always been inspired to, read what you're sharing, right? You're uninhibited. And you kind of remind me of myself maybe, right? Back then, because we have a little bit of age difference. So,
A
I've
little bit,
lived
huh?
yeah, just a little. I've lived a lucky life. Like I used to think, because this is always interesting when I read your stuff,
Yeah.
because you make me smile in many ways. But I used to think that work and preparation mattered. And it does matter, like 51%, right? Because if you don't do all those things, if you're not organized and prioritized in your own way, uh, whether it's post-it note, whiteboards, or software or whatever, right? Like if you're not prioritized and organized and then prioritized, then you can't get lucky, right? You can't be
Yeah.
lucky. So I used to think that it's like 85, 90%, like I can make stuff happen, right?
Yeah.
And if I didn't make it happen, then, I need to evaluate how, right? So my summary of kind of me is that I've just been really lucky. I've done the 51% side. I have. Like whatever it was, I was always proactive. I was always willing to adapt. I didn't always adapt properly, but I was definitely willing. But, when I sit in this chair now, is the reality is it's 49% luck. And I'm just super grateful that things have worked out for me, because they,
Yeah.
in circumstances that I might not share, right? Those episodes, those things that happen in your life and it kind of went your way and you're like, huh, woo, a good thing it didn't go the other way, right? And then, hopefully you don't make those mistakes twice,
Yeah.
because you got lucky without consequence. So I
Yeah.
think I'm just a lucky dude, and I try to make sure that I put my energy back into those, like you, that are attempting to make a difference. So I'm just
That's so
styled
cool.
that way.
Dude, like what you're saying resonates with me so much. Like this morning I was walking around, like getting stuff set up. And I was just like, man, so much of like the effort that we put into things like just doesn't matter. Like I put like everybody's listening to this knows that I write a lot about like productivity and like being optimal and like doing all the things and like yeah, like I think that's more for me sometimes. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like more for my own anxiety. And then the reality is it doesn't always like it, I don't know what the correlation is between that sort of like optimal output and actual success, because I know plenty of people who are very successful and have an inbox that is a mess. It's like 5,000 emails unread, or like stuff like that. I'm curious, like Dave, like in your experience, what you were talking about luck, and what is like something that you would say, like a place in life or like maybe a story that you have about something that made an impact for you, but that was related to that, like opportunity or luck or something that was like not quite from the hustle or the hard work or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Usually it came from somebody caring about me when I didn't likely deserve it. Right. And there's multiple, there's a bunch of little events, but there's a couple big ones that I'm just like, wow, how'd that happen? And, whether you believe in karma or guardian angels
Right.
or whatever, however you might be
Right.
aligned, is like, there's a couple big ones that happened. And the biggest one that happened was, I was 23, 24, and I'm 51 now. Right. And, I was hustling, but I was hustling, like trying to just make stuff happen, poor kid from a small town, but didn't know it. So I was happy, and I joined the military out of high school, and good thing it allowed me to kind of bridge my life so that I didn't, go down a troubled path.
Mm.
I had the opportunity to go to war in 91 during the first Desert Storm. And that got my instant attention, not just the war part, but like what's important. But all of that kind of built up. I was in total hustle mode. And I would even say that I had a lot of gray area in my character. I just didn't know it at the time.
Whoa.
And I went to go ROTC, which is like a preparatory, most people know what it is, preparatory for being an officer in the
Right.
military. Um, and then I also got a job at the same time. And this is what happened, is the job was so good that I wanted to quit ROTC. I was like, yeah, let's do that. Right.
Right.
So the guy that ran, Colonel Lindsey Powell is his name. And he held me accountable to my oath to our country. And I was pissed. I was mad because he made me go back into the military.
Oh my God.
Like literally, I have, by the order of the president of the United States, like I was going to go to jail if I didn't go back in the military. It was crazy
Jeez.
time. I was so mad at Colonel Powell. I was so mad. And then I just realized one day, like he was doing the right thing. Like I was the problem, like it was just like this giant moment that was not something. It's not like I sat down and said, let me think about this. No, none of that happened. I was mad. I was really mad. And I don't get mad. Right. And then I realized that Colonel Powell was doing the right thing. And years later, so that was 92-ish, 98-ish, I called him on the phone and I thanked him. And here's the deal, dude. Ready? He didn't even remember who I was.
Classic.
So my life, there's a before and after moment.
Right.
When I realized that I was the problem, right? My character was the problem. My rationalization of this gray area, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, and he didn't even remember who I was. So that was one of those moments, dude. And that was luck. I didn't work for that. I I didn't plan for that. I didn't prioritize. I wasn't productive for that. It just happened.
Right.
So I feel fortunate that, woo, like even now I'm like, woo.
Yeah, I'm feeling it too, man. That's so intense.
It was like we wrote congressmen, like it was crazy to think what I was trying to do. And all I was trying to do is get out of my promise. And I'm like, what the, like, I look back on that and I'm like, what the, and good thing Colonel Powell held me accountable.
Dude, that's so huge. I
It
feel like
it would have been easier for him to not do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky. Just pure luck.
Dang.
And he didn't even remember who I was. I still am like, come on, dude.
I don't know. That's crazy. Like to have such a big moment for one person, it's a huge life-changing moment. For another person, it's just day in the life.
Yeah. And I just, and I didn't work for it. Like that was, and I've had a couple of those throughout my life. Like I didn't do anything. It happened.
Yeah.
So.
Right. That's big. I think like accountability is a huge trend that shows up in like successful people. Just like putting yourself around people who will keep you accountable or just happening to be around them. I know for me, like I have a couple of people in my life that I know I could go to if I was going to chicken out of something, or, you know what I mean? Like I could be like, hey, this is what I want to do. Can we be like some kind of accountability buddy system, whatever, to each other? I have a friend who like wrote a check for $1,000 and gave it to his friend. It was like, if I don't do this thing I said I'm going to do,
Cash this.
you get to cash this check.
Yeah.
Like,
There's all kinds of little tricks of accountability like that. It's nice to have people around you though that love you, right? And I don't necessarily
yeah.
mean partner kind of caring love, or your mom and dad or your siblings, but I just mean someone that cares about you more than they care about themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want nothing from you, and they state that, you know. And Colonel Powell did that for me, although he doesn't remember me.
But that's so funny because you would never call him up to be like an accountability buddy. He was just acting. He was just doing it.
Yeah, his intent was, I don't know, like he wasn't getting anything from it.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing it for me. He didn't expect a return. Like
Yeah.
it was just, it still has my attention, and it's still a little confusing too, but I get it.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
it. You know, Chris, you sometimes use the word success, and like,
Yeah.
if you see my face twist when somebody says success, that's a rough one for me. Jim Carrey's got, I'm not a big quote guy, but this one has my attention, that I wish that everybody could have plenty of money so that they would know that's not the answer. You know, like success is a weird thing, and people define, I think you got to define it before you can pursue it.
Totally.
And for me, my success is just the freedom of my time. Like, you know, I don't want anybody telling me what to do or limiting choices, or that doesn't mean that I don't want people around me that have an expectation of me. I just mean that my success is my freedom.
Right.
And it's interesting how it seems like the society defines it as, you know, things.
Money for sure.
Yeah. Like,
I do. I define it like that all the time. Like in my head.
It's hard. It's hard. Like, for example, talking to me is, you don't know if I have $2 or if I have $20 million. You don't know.
Right.
Like, I mean, just because the way I spend it or don't spend it doesn't, like, no one knows, and nor does it matter. Right.
Right.
But that's just my definition of success. So, but I worry sometimes when we check these boxes of success, and I try to mentor entrepreneurs and mentor those that have a purpose, not just money. So
that's cool. So let's talk about that. What are you into right now?
Yeah, I think it's an evolution of maybe the last 15 years. Entrepreneur in 2005, right? I started, and I sure did make a lot of mistakes. I don't think I was listening, but so I've evolved the answer to that question, right? So it's not really, it's kind of like what I'm not involved in, but what I am involved in is I want to make sure that everything I invest in and where I spend my time has some type of effect after me. So energy, healthcare, education is where I'm at and where I've been the last 5 years. And I believe that even though I live kind of in a nicer neighborhood, I know within 5 miles of me, somebody's hurting, right?
Yeah.
They need healthcare, they need education. And I don't mean like, you know, high school education. That's just a facilitator, right? But and I have to spend my time there. So, and I do.
That's so cool. So are you like, what is your kind of like involvement? Are you investing in stuff? Are you starting projects? Are you kind of like working on stuff in the lab that we super secret and we can't talk about it? Like,
yeah, no, nothing. I'd expose everything I'm doing. I don't think it's any of it's that exciting. So investing is probably a stretch, right? Because that would imply that, you know, I write checks consistently, and I don't want to be that investor. What I do is I'm past the stage of being a pure entrepreneur. I've kind of been there. I've done that. I'm proud of myself, you know, the failures and the success. So what I've done, and some of this is aligned with some Buddhist strategy, but is I've accepted that I have a responsibility to facilitate and help others, and not in a generic way. Like, so I choose carefully, right? I choose you, right? There's another entrepreneur, her name's Kristen. I choose Kristen, right? So I choose, and then I help them. So that's my mode. I put up money to cover expenses, not salaries, you know, but cover expenses so that businesses can get started without having to worry about, oh, you know, if I sign up for a pipe drive account and it's $15, oh, you know, that's $15 every month. Okay, stop thinking like that. I'll pay for that, and you do the work. You know, you do the sale. So my investing is I put in, $25,000, usually about $5,000 a month to
Right.
get the ball rolling. So,
That's big because like I could just speak to that for sure. There's this weird
it-
mindset. Like I've started projects and you're thinking about the cash and then you can't think about the thing you wanted to do. I think a lot of nonprofits are in this position actually because they're constantly like going out to raise money instead of doing the impact work that they said they were going to do. So that's like a huge service.
it also is selfish too, not selfish like it hurts someone else, but like it's what makes it's what kind of gets me to the upper level of being content, and then I do
Yeah.
other things for happiness, right? But like I'm
Huh.
content spending my time helping those that I choose.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, again, feel pretty lucky. I've met some cool people. So
I bet. Yeah, I bet you met some cool. If you're working on like all these kind of social impact projects, right? Like there's a lot of
yeah,
people who care. We're talking about care and putting yourself in an environment where like people around you care about you and they care about the mission. And so like that's actually a really good example of putting yourself in an environment where people care. I
yeah,
wonder like the way you said this kind of like covers, I forget the language you just used, but it kind of like covers your contentness. And
yeah. It
then there's
pushes
this
me to the
other layer.
yeah. There's another layer of a classic Maslow like self
That's what I
actual.
was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, and over my lifetime, I think that self actualization is actually a curse because once you don't really ever. I don't ever really hang out there because I don't know, somehow I can't. But like when you peek into it and you know what it feels like, and it has that perfect. It's not a logical thing; it just kind of happens.
Yeah.
But then you come out of it, and you fall back into that self esteem role. And again, I feel very lucky that I've had the chance to build the lower layers. I should say
Yeah.
not. I should not say build. They happen to me, and then
Mm,
I'm able to sustain them, that I'm able to have a discussion about my self-esteem and self-actualization, right? Because I recognize that, that's not true for a lot of people. So I'm grateful for it. But yeah, I know I just do things on the top of my contentness. So do you want to hear, like, I know that we're recording, so I'm hesitant, but here we go. Is I want to share something with you, Chris.
hell yeah.
Like out of context, so you can't edit this. You got to make sure you keep it together, right?
Yeah.
Out of
Done.
context, this would sound crazy. If someone was reading what I'm about to say, they would be like, who's this dude, right? Here's the deal is recently I've read the Unabomber's Manifesto.
Ooh,
Okay.
that's
And
got to be deep and all kinds of
it's
mixed stuff.
I didn't it caught me off guard because as confident or arrogant as I might be, I've seen a lot and done a lot. This has caused me to think additional to the way I think, not different, but it added pieces that I didn't realize that I was missing. Sounds crazy, right? Unabomber Manifesto, and you got something positive from that? Like, I mean, what the like? So let me separate the methods of what Ted Kaczynski did and the message that he was trying to share. So it's a very powerful piece of content. And if you took the Unabomber Manifesto off the title and you called it something else, it would probably be a bestseller, right? So here's what I got from it. And I would encourage you to read it. If I read it earlier in my life, I would have been like, whoa, I could have avoided some mistakes. And
Really? Wow.
yeah, it's so I'll give you without wrecking any of it. It's long and detailed. Let's just start there. It's not just some, because everybody's like, oh yeah, madman. Nope, separate it, right? So here's the deal is society is pushing us towards, and it always has been, the industrial and technical revolution is what he calls it, because that's what it is
Hmm.
it pushes us towards being satisfied by surrogate goals, like those things that we
Mm,
think are important that we then go do and we feel
yeah.
better because of it. Like there's
Right.
chemicals going on, right?
Yeah.
But unless you step back and really understand what your primary goals are, not the fake ones. And I don't mean fake like they're not okay, because I have a surrogate goal of talking to you, right? Like this makes me feel good. But my
Right.
primary goal is to make a contribution. So the whole thing is all about how the technical and industrial revolution has forced us into a box that allows us to only pursue surrogate goals, so we never actually feel satisfied.
Mm.
And boy, oh boy, did this speak to me. And I was just like, remember, separate these things, right?
Yeah.
Yay, Ted Kaczynski. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying,
Okay.
yeah, it's different. So I have this thing that I call Mount Everest disease. And that is, if I climbed Mount Everest, I'd be satisfied for 5 minutes. And then I'd look around for a taller mountain, knowing that there isn't one. That's the key to the disease, is knowing that there isn't one.
Right.
And then I've never really been able to pinpoint why. And this particular piece of writing, right, the Unabomber Manifesto, has allowed me to see what I couldn't see. And that is, it's not that I was pursuing fake goals like they were wrong, but I wasn't aware that the dissatisfaction is coming from surrogate goal accomplishment. It was, and real satisfaction comes from the execution of real goals of what you care about. And it's a powerful message, dude. Again, remember, separate, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
something's wrong with his methods, but it's too bad that we couldn't listen.
Right.
Yeah, strange, but it was a big one for me. Another accidental moment,
Accidental moment. That's so big. Because like there's so much sort of black and white thinking that would create the reaction where I'd be like, oh, I'm never gonna read that. Like, why would I let that in my life at all? Like, I would never consider that, right? But if you understand that, like, it's kind of this like actually this really weird gray area, and like, yeah, there's some of it that's possibly useful or valuable. Like, I think that's like a really powerful story for a lot of reasons. Like, you just nailed like a couple really big things in there that I think are important.
Yeah, you got everybody that I've told to. I'm always cautious of who I tell, and knowing we're recording, we're telling everyone. But it sounds crazy, but like if someone could just force themselves to separate Ted Kaczynski Unabomber from, I'm going to read something new that might add to my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it has my attention, and I really just want to enunciate that it added to the way that I think. It didn't change the way I think. It
Right.
added a piece that I'd never thought about before, and it was awesome. Still
See,
awesome.
that part's really useful. What you're talking about is context, right? Like that's super useful. And I think there's so much information that it's like, even the stuff that I write, it's like I'm not asking anybody to like adopt my method for like how I run my life. Like that's unreasonable, right? But I am trying to put together some context and stories that like maybe somebody would resonate with and be like, oh, like maybe this could apply here, or you know what I mean? Like tools, resources, obviously, like those are the big obvious clunky ones, but I think in a sort of more subtle way, like what you're talking about is context, is this sort of like type of thinking in this type of environment, and like that could be different from this type of thinking in a different environment. I think that's super valuable.
Yeah, well, Chris, when you share stuff, it gets my attention. Like, you're a different thinker, and you bring a level of energy, and I appreciate that. That's why I read it. Like, I don't agree with all of it. Like, I mean, I'll read stuff. I'm like, oh, here he goes with productivity again. And I'd love to reach out and be like, it's actually not that important. Like, what would be interesting is to write about being unproductive and the output of that. Like, because I'm completely unproductive, although I'm like, as defined by, productivity. Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, fair enough. Like negative, positive. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
but you're totally right. Like this is an area that I am weak in that I like, I have a mentor that like he's so good at balancing, maybe that's the wrong word, but like he's so good at managing like recovery downtime and like boredom and playtime with like productive time and kind of averaging it all out, versus me where I have this like unreasonable approach where I'm like, everything needs to be peak performance all the time, and like we have to be like a constant like high output. Like what
Yeah,
if you
I
put
know.
if you it's like it's ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous.
It's the way you think, though, so don't oppress it. Just let it flourish a little bit,
Right. But yeah, that's a lesson that I have to learn, is the value of relaxation. Because like I could tell you, like, but my partner Odessa, like she it drives her crazy that I can't sit and watch a movie. And I wish I could. Like, I wish I could sit there and like love every second of it. But like I get like this anxiety, even if I am enjoying the movie and I think it's art and I think it's amazing and I'm learning something from it. Like, maybe I'll take that and do something with it. Like, I just wrote like a bunch of pieces on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Like, I just wrote a bunch of articles on that, and like, because that was cool and I thought it would relate to people, and I had a history of like learning it, so or like watching that, so I was like, okay, cool, like, this will resonate. We'll see. But like, even today, I look at like my consumption and I get mad and I get anxious about how much I'm consuming versus how much I'm outputting. So I like, that is an area that I have to improve. And not that it's like this prescribed, like, here's what it needs to be, 20 hours of this and 40 hours of that. But I don't know, I'm sure for different people, there's like different kind of ratios of like what.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't oppress it. You know what I mean? Like society will say, do this, don't do this. You read books like Good to Great, or you read books like, writers are saying this and quoting or saying this, but you know what? That's not who you are. Right.
Yeah.
So make sure you don't oppress it.
Yeah.
Just kind of polish it a little bit and keep going. Right. Because your body is creating energy, and then your brain, you have the choice of how to use it. And, but anytime you oppress anything, that's a negative thing. Right. So you have to say, okay, all right, I'm a little crazy, a little energy here or whatever. So now how do I point it,
Right.
not oppress it? And, that for sure it works, right? Like your body, anxiety is just energy. That's all it is, right? Enthusiasm is energy. It's just energy. And then what happens to it? What happens, right? Do you disease your heart by oppressing it? Do you go outward with it without pausing a little bit? Like those are really lack of choices, but like choose how.
Yeah.
And it works. Like it works. It's awesome. Like I wish I could just cast that secret on everyone to say that energy is created. Choose how to use it. Don't let it happen to you. Choose.
That's cool, because you kind of just answered a question that I have for you, sort of, in different language, which is like, if you could send a push notification to the whole world, like on your phone, right? Like if you could just send a push notification to everybody, like maybe that's the message you would choose, and you would use like different language to make it fit in this tiny little box. But like, what would you send out to the world?
Yeah. So I like to be different and unique, but I that's not my purpose. So I'm about to steal one because I wish it was mine. So Seth Godin, who has a lot of different stuff out there, right? And he makes his money from his marketing side, right? But he also has this other side of him that's very philosophical with practical kind of direction. So there's a TED talk, a deep one, like a TEDx talk somewhere. It's called "What Are Schools For?" And if you haven't seen it, you got to watch it.
I
But
love that.
inside of there, this is what he said, and I've watched it multiple times since 2012. Is he said, if you want to do less of it, it's work. If you want to do more of it, it's art. So know the difference. Like I don't like working. Which based on that definition is doing something that I don't want to do. Like I want to do less of it. I want to optimize it, right? I want to machine language it, right? I want to pay someone else to do it, right?
Right.
The whole Tim Ferriss 4-Hour Work Week. I hated that book because it felt like it was just using other people, right? I get it, but it felt like it. Yeah. So do more art, and that's the push notification. Is work is what you want to do less of. Art is what you want to do more of. Know the difference. That would be my push notification.
That's big, dude. That's so important. Thanks for like sharing that.
Yeah. And if you're not doing art or balancing it or whatever you want to call it, like that should have your attention. You should be beating yourself up for, come on, a little more art, what you love to do. It doesn't need to be art like paintings. I don't mean that. I just mean what's in your heart. What do you love to do? And then do that. Just do it.
What would you say is your favorite part of the art that you're doing right now?
Chris, my energy level has not stopped. My physical energy level is a little limited, right? Because as I've injured myself and as I age, it's just not there. I want it to be. It's not. But the rest of it, my mental energy has not slowed down. So the art that I love is I love to read books for the purpose of giving me ideas about stories and characters, or what about this, or what if we, or like, even if I never get to a chance of writing them down, which I do, but I just enjoy the art side of thinking of how things all interrelate, and stories and people in those stories and things like that. I love that art form. I wish I would have discovered it when I was way younger, but instead
Yeah.
I was getting my MBA and checking boxes and making money and things like that.
Right.
But yeah, that's my art form. Is I love to be like, "Ooh, wait a minute. What if we, so
Dude, there's a cool book that I think would be useful in recommending. It's called Some. I don't know if you've heard of this.
I have not.
It's basically like
SOME?
SUM. It's by David
Oh,
Eagleman. Yeah, it's by David Eagleman. Oops. I'm just gonna try to show you the there. It's
yeah, yeah, I see it.
you can see
I see
the
it.
cover. It's called Some by David Eagleman, and it's basically like, I don't know, 30 or 40 short stories of like how the end of your life goes. Like when you die, you go to heaven or whatever that like thing is, and that's he recreates it like 40 times in a row, and it's like this outrageous, amazing, like sequence of differing, sometimes contradictory kind of like ideas of what it could be. So in the sense of like creativity and storytelling and like generating ideas and thoughts, like it is just rapid fire
Yeah. Okay.
awesome.
All right, I'm in. I just finished a book yesterday, which kind of pissed me off actually, which is the book Brave New World, and I had never read it.
Oh, Huxley, yeah.
I man, I I was I was mad. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I've used the word mad. I'm never mad. Like, I was angry at this book, but at the same
Yeah.
time, that's the point, right?
Yeah, that's really what it was.
But
Disappointing. What was disappointing about it? Were you like kind of expecting versus?
well, I mean, a little spoiler alert here for people that haven't read it, I guess, right? Because I don't want to wreck the book for anybody that might watch this. But
Fair
um,
enough.
I think as I was going through it, I kept going back and forth. Probably designed by the writer is that I was kind of like, yeah, that seems like a good idea. Whoa, too far. Hey, that seems
Hmm.
like a good idea. Whoa, too far, right?
Right.
And then ultimately, in the last two chapters, the second to last chapter, there was a discussion between two people.
Yeah.
And it was all about, well, why does the Brave New World need to function like this? Why does it need to function like this?
Right.
And essentially, the conclusion, which I somewhat agree with, and it's somewhat relative, although I got to be careful of applying it, is I don't think people can handle it. I don't think people can handle freedom. I don't, not I don't know. Like
Yeah.
you see freedom and you're like, whoa, what? That was either a lack of choice, an emotional choice, or something else.
Right.
I think there's a lot more something else than I thought there was. And then, of
Huh.
course, the very last chapter, when the person that was rebelling and against the norm gave up.
Yeah.
And dude, yeah,
Yeah.
sucked. I'm still like, even it's probably now 14 hours later or more, and I'm still busted up. I'm like, I'm kind of
Yeah.
mad. So yeah.
That's
So,
interesting, man.
but I've been looking for a little lighter reading, not lighter like easy. I just mean that
Yeah.
like that one was so deep and will probably affect me the rest of my life. Like that's how
Yeah.
things, like there's moments that are like boom,
Yeah.
that's now.
Wow.
But yes,
Would you consider that like regardless of the type of feeling, right? Like we could agree that that was disappointing, but like the magnitude of the feeling, would you say that that was a successful book? Like that
yeah,
it like if the you know what I mean? Like if we had to define success for the book, like I don't know.
yeah, I without a doubt, like it was a
Yeah.
different topic in its time. It's had longevity way past like pop culture. Like
Yeah, it's
it's
true.
not pop culture like, oh, I like it too.
Right.
It's kind of like, no, 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 no. There's something else going on here.
Yeah.
Like it has a longevity. So therefore, without a doubt, success. Um, and he laid it out. I think the issue
Yeah.
for me though is the timing of it is just like, like because it's hard for me not to translate it into our current world of
Yeah.
fusion, because I don't understand people's behaviors and even more. And I'm like, well, what's going on here?
Yeah. That's powerful, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, man.
It's a big deal. Um, so I've got a couple thoughts that we could kind of dive into, but I also have this list of questions that I haven't really asked you
Ask
yet.
away, dude.
So let me like poke at some of these because I think they'll be fun, and with the context of the stuff we just talked about, it might be even more fun. So as a person who reads, you probably saw The Matrix back in the day.
Many times.
Yeah, big movie, I think, for a lot of us. What are like 3 skills that you would just, if you could just plug in, you would just matrix download to your brain?
You know, it implies that they're hard skills, right? You know, meaning like flying helicopters and things like that.
Right.
And I was always fascinated by, do you know how to fly that thing? And she says, not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
Trinity, right? And
Good
it's just,
answer.
you know, like
Yeah.
one of the cool things is that we almost have the matrix ability already. Almost. It's just not downloaded. It's a you have to choose, and then you got to put in effort, but you can accomplish it. Like
Right.
Chris, you and I could pick a topic right now. We could just stop talking, pick a topic, and in probably 6 hours, we could be 50% of the way there. We can.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
2 people, you got YouTube, you got reading, you got
Right.
Chris. What do you think about it? Bam, 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 right?
Yep.
What an amazing thing, an amazing thing. So, you know, what skill sets would I pick? You know, I would probably pick, because it would make my life just better and easier, is I wish I could do a lot more handyman stuff. I tend to have to learn twice. Like there's a story of me doing the plumbing in Chicago, and I yell, "I gotta find the water main!" You know, boom, and I run downstairs, and my desk is in front of it. I pick up my desk like Hulk, like. You know? So I wish I could have handyman skills so that I wouldn't have to learn things twice. You know, I tend to, you know, measure once, cut twice, get a new board kind of thing, you know. So handyman skills, only so that I could, you know, do what needed to be done, because those things do need to be fixed.
Yeah.
Then I don't have to make mistakes, so I save time. I save bloody fingers all the time.
Right. All that.
Yeah, I think another thing that I wish I had is, I wish that I could have more empathy towards things that I can't possibly experience, right? So, like, for example, is I'm not blind, so I can't have empathy for a blind person, but I can have sympathy by thinking about it, by talking to people that are blind, or, you know what I mean? Like, but I can't have empathy for what I can't experience. And I wish that I could better understand when people are coming from a place of who they are, and I can't understand that empathetically. And I wish I could have stronger natural empathetic skills, because I've struggled with it my whole life. Like the whole time I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, I mean, I say that and I think that a lot, and I want to get it. It's not just, oh, you know, it is what it is. I hate that phrase, by the way, but like, I hate that phrase because it's just given, right? But my skill set for empathy is, it's more learned than natural. And I don't like that, because then it's based on what I've experienced versus actually what I feel.
Right.
Yeah. So I wish I could have more natural, empathetic.
That's such a good one, dude. Oh man.
Well, mainly because it causes a lot of pain for other people. Like, my enthusiasm jumps to a conclusion without asking or listening enough, you know? And yeah, it's so much work for me, but I know it's important, but I naturally, dude, I'm zero empathetic. Like, every time I have empathy, it's because I thought it out.
Right. Yeah.
That's thinking it out.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's so hard. Yeah.
All right, so that's number 2. You know, number 3 is probably, I wish that I had a lot more like understanding of my body in terms of how all the chemicals work. There's so much and in doing so, I could actually help other people, like if they're having health problems or whatever. I wish that I could truly understand how all of it works, because there's so much misinformation that I can't understand it, and therefore I still rationalize my food intake. I still, stuff like that. So I wish that I have an instant understanding of, oh, that's how it works. And then I could easily take the next step. No problem. Like if I had to eat toasty wheat. Is that what the cereal was? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So toast. If it was like, hey, here is the perfect. If you just eat toasty wheat, I think that's what it was. I'd be like done. I'd eat it 5 times a day. I'm good. I don't need anything else because I already know that the output is what I want. Right.
Right.
But I wish I don't have a health understanding of that. So therefore, I'm just normal.
Which sucks.
It does. Yeah, I can't stand it.
Ah, man, there's
I hate
nothing
when
worse.
I hate when I think I'm not normal, and then I discover that I'm normal, and I'm like, damn it, because I'm not trying to be different. I'm just trying to be me, but I think me is unique, and then I'm like, damn it. Yeah, like I take a variety of the personality. I don't mean the personality test, like which office character are you, Michael Scott, by the way. But I don't like that answer, by the way. But like I take these legit, strength finders, and it scares me how much they know about me. I'm like, how do they know that about me? How do they know that? I've never told anybody that, like, and then I'm like, damn it, I'm normal. Like, yeah. So
Yeah, that's frustrating, man. I can relate to that.
yeah, so those are my 3 skills: a
Yes.
handyman, natural empathy, and then I would just learn. I would love to know perfect knowledge about actually how my human body works, so I could take care of myself better.
That's solid. That's a really good lineup, dude. That's cool.
I didn't think about it before. Like I felt bad that I didn't review the questions before we talked, but I thought, you know what, I'm just going to be me and see what
Yeah,
happens. Those are
whatever.
just they're kind of off the cuff, but they're real. I feel good.
Part of like I think committing to an answer on the fly is sort of like it's a valuable little pushback test because if you like I've done this before in like interviews and stuff where I'll say something that I think is right or what I actually think. And then later I'll go back and I'll be like, none of my actions like actually reflect that. Or, you know what? Actually, I just don't think that's true anymore. I used to think that's true. So like I think at a minimum doing this like as an exercise where I'm just like asking like, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
I think it's like you might come back 3 days from now and be like, you know what? I thought about it. Here's what I
I
think.
don't care. Just make sure you don't edit the part about the Unabomber, right? Because I don't want to be like, oh, that the guy that talked about the Unabomber, that guy. Like, no.
Unabomber guy.
Did you
Right.
know Unabomber was from University Airline Bomber?
No,
Unabomber. That's where it came from.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Anyway, I learned it too. Look at that.
That's crazy, dude. I think it's a great story, actually.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
didn't
actually a really good conversation starter.
go read it, Chris. I would love to sit down and talk to you about it. Like, where are my thoughts messed up there? Like, I need another perspective that's not me. I would love for you to be able to read it and then for you and I to talk about that. I'd love to get your perspective.
Sick. That sounds awesome. And I will be super honest and say that I'm really scared. I'm
Yeah.
like terrified of reading that book. Like, ooh, like I don't know what it is, but I'm just like, ugh.
Great. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
51
scary.
years of life, and I've done. Sometimes I think about my life, and it feels like a little Forrest Gumpy on a little lower level, right?
Right.
I've never been to the White House or anything, but like I've done all these things, and I'm sitting here, and then very few things get my attention, and I don't mean short-term attention. I mean like really deep inside, like when my brain is different, you know.
Yeah.
And you read big time thought provoking, like 1984 or Brave New World, and it's those things don't add to the way I think. I mean, it's a perspective, and you're like, oh, that's interesting, and that's super creative. But like this one, bro, if I could, I wish I would have read it when I was younger, like
Yeah.
like I did, because like you're right, you should be scared of it. You
Yeah.
should be, not because it's Ted Kaczynski,
Right.
but because it's an additional way to think that maybe
Right.
you'll be like, dude, that was so obvious, but maybe not for me.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't have anybody to talk to it about because even the closest of friends, to include my wife, they're like, okay,
It's
Dave,
like no way. All right, I'll do it.
do it.
Oh man, I'm scared. All right, I'm gonna download it or whatever. I'll find it somewhere.
It's longer than you think, and he goes bam, 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 bam. It's it's not, and he did it on a manual typewriter with in a hut with no electricity. Like I probably would have given up like after page 4. And there's no typos or anything. It's like, what the hell? I mean, seriously, that's a commitment. I mean, that's like the whole time I'm like, okay, manual typewriter, living in a
Right.
with no electricity. Like, you want to talk about a commitment. Like, he didn't write the way I write. Like, I sit down and go, I throw up, and then I
Right.
go back and edit it. Like a manual
Yeah.
typewriter, there's no editing.
Yeah. That's
It's
crazy.
it's profound.
That's insane. Yeah. I don't know. My writing style, I don't know. It's all in flux right now, but
Yeah, don't
we'll
oppress
see.
it. Let it happen.
Yeah. True. All right. I got a couple more for you. I don't really, also, I didn't have a good idea of like how much time we should take. I was like, I don't know, hang out. Cause like an hour is usually about enough time to like hang out and like get into something and then be like, cool, like have a thought, or even if we don't get to a conclusion, like you got somewhere.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like we'll keep it like another couple minutes, but like, who knows, like if anybody would want to sit down and watch an hour of
Yeah,
it.
and maybe if you slice it up in a unique way, like go do 10 profiles and then, slice up the matrix question and say boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I don't know. That's
Right.
yeah. So I'm good on time, and my style. So ask what you want, and cut me off when you need to.
All right. I think we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but I'm curious about what is a valuable resource that you wish you had earlier in life? Resource, tool, whatever thing that you just like, oh my gosh, I wish I had this when I was 20 or 16 or something.
Yeah, I wish I would have had the knowledge on how to evaluate someone's intent. Because like one of the things that I try to do is if I have selfish intent, I usually don't take a step forward until I can understand why.
Right.
'Cause I don't want to be that guy anyway. It's kind of a waste of my time. Like, or it's a waste of my time after the fact. Like, damn, what a waste of my time, right?
Right.
So I wish that I would have learned way sooner how to evaluate someone's intent, like the resource of understanding when someone's trying to help me. If I could understand their intent in a deeper way, it would then orient my response to it, and it would keep my emotions and my reactions oriented. So I wish that I knew that. And I tried to teach my kids that over time, and they're doing really well, I think, because they have a great mother, right? But I've tried to say, things like, look, I realize you don't want to hear me, but it's way easier for me to not help you. So look at what my intent is. If my intent is to help myself, whatever, but it's not, so
Yeah.
as I wish I would have known the difference between someone that is trying to love me and then someone that is trying to manipulate me.
That
And
is so big.
yeah. And when I did discover it, it's not like it was an aha moment. It was really multiple mistakes of getting hurt. And I used to use the phrase, like, I'd rather help 10 people and get hurt by 4 because I don't want to take away the value to the 6. But that's a wrong way to look at it. Is you got to start with the ability to evaluate so that you can get 10 out of 10. Because
Mhm.
when you go down a path without evaluation, it doesn't allow you to go down a different path, a different person, a different effort, whatever. So I made the mistake long time to say, well, 6 out of 10 is not bad, right?
Mhm.
And but I was like, yeah. And then I realized if you evaluate up front in a smarter way, you can get 10 out of 10 and not get hurt. Because you just apply it differently. Because there's always a place to go. But if I had that skill way early, or just the awareness of the concept, I would be like, wow, I could have applied myself in additional ways.
Dude,
Deep, dude. I'm sorry.
so
Early.
big. It's so big, dude.
Well,
It's
these
crazy.
51 years of like really wide experiences and too much volume to the point that I'm completely worn out, And I'm like, I gotta recover, Like, it's crazy that this COVID thing, which has been really bad for a lot of people, it has allowed me to recover my life.
Wow.
Like, I feel so selfish saying that because I know people
Yeah.
are hurting really bad,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to help where I can there, right? But like, I have had 3 months of reset, and it still hasn't been enough. You know, I saw a meme going around that said, I didn't know that my regular lifestyle had a name, and I've learned that that name is quarantined. Like, I
Right.
just, yeah. So anyway, but yeah. So I wish I would have
That's cool.
Thank you. I wish I would have known that way earlier. If I could go back in time and strangle myself so I'd listen, I would implant that. I would say, like, look, evaluate better, you know? So,
Dude, that's super cool. I think I want to like get in there, but there's like so much. We could hang out for another hour and like jam on that. So I will skip, and I will go to another thought slash question, which is like, what do you feel like you can share or provide in our little community thing that we have? Like, we have a little channel in Slack with a couple of people. I'm not like, I don't know, maybe this would be interpreted incorrectly. Like, I'm not expecting anybody to like jump up and start like running workshops or something ridiculous, but I just mean like, what is something that you feel that you know or can share that's easy, that you would hope that you'd be able to like contribute in some way with? You know what I mean? Like, am I being clear?
yeah, Chris, I think that, even in our time together today and in our time even before today is, um, I come from a place of uh, experience, but like, it's not like, yay, me, it's not like some resume experience, but like,
Right.
I, I have, I feel like I've had the chance to do all these things either by choice or by accident or whatever, right? And I've never forgot any of them. You know, like,
Yeah.
they're all there. They're all there. I can, and my son has the same skill. Like, I can think of 1,000 things like within seconds, and then get down to, now whether it's right or not. I'm not saying it's right or not. I'm just saying that my brain has the ability to put all these dots on the page and draw something
Right.
from it quickly
Right.
that I could help people with. And then, to include with you, I structure my words in this way: is like, an opinion is, hey, it's my opinion, it's kind of thought out, I'm not really sure, take it or leave it, add it to what you're thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, and then my advice is, hey, look, dude, I've been where you are, and if I was you, I would do this. Like,
Right.
there's substance to it, but
Right.
you could probably make it better than me. So just take these pieces of what I know to be true,
Right.
matrix them into your brain, and then
Right.
make it better than me, right? That's advice.
Right.
And then the last one is direction. Is, I know for sure that you better do this shit, right? You better, this is it. Like, I know. And very rarely do I give direction, right? Because
Right.
I try to put time and freedom inside of that equation for someone to be better than I could possibly ever help them
Yeah.
with. So I think that's it. That's how I could help our group. And I'm wired that way in life, is that I truly have had this accidental volume and breadth of life. And I'm only 51. I feel like I lived 3 lives sometimes. I tell my wife that. I'm like, man, I feel like, and I think I can contribute to others with pure intent. So I think
That's
that
so cool, dude.
if someone needs an opinion, I got one.
Right on, man.
Because of that, not just because I'm opinionated, like, because I feel like I have this high volume,
Yeah.
the ability to connect a lot of dots at once, that I think I can help people get to places faster just by asking and allowing me to be me.
Right. Which
So
is like, it's like, that's the whole kind of like intent with this little channel, is to be like, cool, I know a bunch of people that care and are doing things, and this would be a great opportunity to like mix the pot around. Otherwise it's just me blabbing every day. Who cares? Like, this is way better. Like, this is more rich, I think, in my opinion.
and just connecting people. Like, I definitely, like, if I had to put some things in the world of what I care about, like, I care about startups with purpose on the business side of it.
Mm-hmm.
I care about parenting. I've got significant amount of opinions mainly through mistakes of parenting. I've got opinions about like what makes a good marriage only because I have 29 years of, I don't know, luck, I guess. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I love my wife. Like I miss her now, like
Right.
I don't, and I can't put my finger on that, but I have an opinion about, hey, if I was you, I would do these types of things. And,
Right.
I guess that's the advice category. But so I think I would love for people to just to reach out and then they would allow me to say, hey, look, here's my opinion and then take it or leave it. Advice, if I was you, or direction, which would probably never come out, but like something I have learned so strongly that I just want other people not to make the mistake.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's how I can support for sure. I'm ready anytime.
Hell yeah. What do you feel like is something you wish someone else would share in our little group?
Uh, you know, politics, religion is always avoided, right? But why is it avoided? I think that where I would probably need help. I'm gonna shift a gear a little bit. I'm not shifting away from those things because they're dangerous. I'm just shifting to maybe what's more important is the B Corp movement, right? The B Corporation, the sustainability movement doesn't have enough practical people applying themselves to it. Like I go to lots of B Corp meetups, or I did.
Yeah.
And the message always, well, it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Well, the right thing to do is to make money so you can pay your employees.
Right.
Because I don't care what you're doing. Is if you're not making money, not in a bad way, but like if you're not making money, your mission is gone.
Right.
So there's not enough practical people applying themselves towards the sustainable future beyond just the way they feel about it.
Right.
Like I say that sarcastically. That's important. It's the first step. But I definitely feel like I'm the only one with a practical view of, okay, yeah, that's all great, but you got to do it over time so that you can make money doing it, not just doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. So that's what I wish. I wish that more people in our group, I could get aligned with more people related to kind of like the pragmatic, sustainable future.
Yeah, that's a big area. And I think nonprofits, and we could talk about that for another hour. I think nonprofits in general are like sort of plagued by that. It's like, it's such a tricky thing.
Yeah, it is.
Super important.
Yeah, like, and B Corp is the bridge between those two things.
Yeah.
It is the bridge, right? Is it cuts off the Gordon Gekko, greed is good, the negative capitalism. It cuts that off of the business side of it.
Right.
But then it also enhances the nonprofit side of it because it gives them kind of like a roadmap, and it's this perfect in between. And if I could travel back in time, I would have invented the B Corp. Like I absolutely love it. And I'm at times very frustrated with the lack of people near it because I'm afraid it's going to die.
Yeah.
I am. I'm so scared that it's like, no, this is it. This is the right thing. This is it. Like my whole life I've been looking for this. And I feel like I genuinely, arrogant or not, as I feel like I'm the only one. And I'm like, what? Like I'm in meetups of 100 people and I feel like I'm the only one, not in my trying to be different, unique kind of way. But like I don't hear anybody else talking about the pragmatic part of capitalism is a good thing. It's a good thing with B Corp layered in. So I wish someone in our group, I could get aligned with someone like that because I'm only 51% of the way there and I'm 49% ignorant. I don't know. But I'm not going to not try, right? Because I care about it. So that's it, dude.
That's pretty cool, dude. I commend you for a couple things. Like your sort of commitment to constant growth and expansion of mindset, your flexibility of thinking, and like probably the number one thing is you care so much, which is like so big. For me, that's like probably the biggest value, that I can have. I'm getting goosebumps, dude.
Yeah. So Chris, there's a book out there called Give and Take. And have you read it?
No, I no.
So dude, you're wired to give, right? It was one of those pivot points for me that allowed me to be me, but gave me ways to be better at that. Right. Like you gotta go read it. Adam Grant is a professor at Wharton and he's a
Yeah.
rep there, right? Like, so he's not a normal professor. And then therefore he's also gotten the right kind of accolades and the humility and his opinion that comes with all that. So give and take was a big pivot point. And I would encourage you as an individual, right? Because you have it inside of you.
Yeah.
Like you could go read that early. You can apply yourself, more productively. I'm
Right.
not saying you're unproductive. I'm just saying it will help. So
Yeah.
promise.
Yeah, that's
I,
awesome, man. I will definitely take that recommendation because that is an area of improvement that I need to figure out
yeah,
for
always.
sure.
Like
Yeah, true.
I use it all the time. I used to read it once a year. I was probably 3 years, continuous. I skipped a year, and then I would go back and read it reactively when I would start making mistakes with my time. And but it's a solid aha. So
That's super cool, man. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah, that and the Unabomber Manifesto. If you just read those, you're good.
Piece of cake. I got it. Those two books, I'll figure it out.
I know.
Cool, man. Anything else you want to like riff on here that we didn't talk about or you think is important to share, in the last like couple minutes?
Yeah, I'll ask you. How can I help you keep going and not give up in what you're trying to accomplish? Even if what you're trying to accomplish is a little bit gray, you're in the pursuit of something, right?
Right.
Like, what can I do, or maybe not do? Like, what can I stop? What can I start? Like, how can I make sure that you, Chris, are able to make a difference for the rest of your life? Like, what can I do? Like, because that's why I'm
amazing.
here. Because I don't want you to stop.
I don't know. The main thing that I'm trying to figure out right now is why the hell do I fucking write every day? Why bother? Because
it's important to me. Like
that helps.
I read it. It makes me think.
Yeah.
So there's one guy.
Well, that's cool because that means something. It really does. I like one of the things that I've been thinking about for probably, like a really long time. There was like a year of my life that I was like, I'm going to write every single day. And I did for a year. And I got to a point where I was like, I wasn't gaining any new attention. Like I don't know the open rates, like how much do people care about this thing? And I just kind of stopped. I was like, maybe I need to reevaluate why I'm doing this, who it's for, all that. Cause I was kind of like, I write like whatever I feel like. It's just kind of out there. And it's like somewhat organized in like one direction, but it's not as consistent, like on target as maybe it could be. So I felt like it was kind of all over the place and it wasn't really resonating with the way that it wasn't like really making moves for anybody. So I kind of stopped doing it and I was really quiet for a while. And then at some point I was like, all right, I'm going to get back to writing every day. Cause I feel like that's a good practice of like, just like practice thinking and writing, like articulating my thoughts and having somebody be able to poke it and be like, I don't know. Like that's really valuable. So that's like a really good, piece of feedback is like, poking at stuff is really, really good because it's hard and a lot of people don't want to do it because it's scary and you risk like not being liked. But I think it can be valuable because it either can allow me to be like, okay, let me try to change my mind. Like, let me try to get into some like empathetic viewpoint, or it could be like, it can further entrench me in my viewpoint. So I think for different reasons, either of those kind of outcomes can be valuable. So feedback is like, is really great to be like, hey, like, I don't know if you're saying this, but like, here's how I interpreted it. And so here's what I'm thinking. That kind of stuff is really useful. But I think right now, just me trying to figure out who it's for and who I can best help by writing and bringing together a community. Like, I don't really know. Like, I just kind of was like, okay, cool. I'll start a Slack group. I don't know. Nobody asked for that. Nobody said like, hey, we really need this because we need to communicate with it. I just felt like it might be a good idea. So like, I'm kind of just doing stuff and I don't know if something is useful and I don't know why. And this week I like hit like a lot of people up. I just tapped shoulders and was like, hey, what do you think of this? Hey, what do you think of that? What would be more useful? And I got a ton of really good feedback on like, well, I kind of don't really use this. And
Chris,
what's that?
People know that. Yeah, like you're not interested in you. You're interested in
Right.
people. Right? Yeah, that's why people respond to you, or that's
Yeah.
why I think certain people respond to you.
Yeah.
Other people might say like, Chris can't help me, so I'm not going to respond to him.
Right. Which is okay. Right. And that's actually the point is like, if somebody shows up and then they unsubscribe like immediately, like I would feel better if that happened and I had a really clear like outline of what this is for. If I said this is exactly what this group is for and somebody showed up and then unsubscribed, I'd be like, great, it's not for you. I'd feel really good about that because I didn't waste your time. But right now, it's not really like I'm not saying like this is exactly what it's for. So I'm not being really clear. And so people are showing up and then maybe they're spending time reading and they're like, you know what? No thanks. And that kind of bothers me because I'm like, shit, like I kind of just wasted somebody's time. So I think the goal that I am working on, and I'm not really answering your question in like, how can you help me directly? But what I need to figure out is like, who is this for? And what is the value that like the specific thing that they're getting from this? And then I can double down on that.
Yeah, I would caution you there. Like, give yourself a break from your metrics for a few months. Like, stop measuring yourself by what other people think. You know, like I would give yourself a break from your metrics. Like, stop looking at them for a little while, right? And just be you.
Yeah.
Like, because otherwise, you're a fraction of you if you're using other people's, either passive unsubscribe or even direct feedback. Like even what I'm saying is like, this is a piece of who you are. It's not who you should be. So I would say give yourself a break from that kind of metric and or judgment of others. And for me, I have continuing to evolve over many, many years of what is my purpose? What is my purpose? And it's an important question. And I feel privileged to be able to ask the question because I don't have to address X, Y, Z. I get a chance to think about A, B, C. And so ask yourself that question. It's like, what is my purpose? And there is going to be no answer. There will be an answer of what it's not. They'll be like, well, that's not it. And, Chris, you have a way about you that gets other people to think. And I would say pick a purpose and then double down on that. Right. Not what you think other people want.
Right.
Because otherwise it's just a race to what? Average, a race to commodity, right? Like,
right.
Don't do that. It's better to have one listener and have it be Ellen DeGeneres than have thousands of listeners who don't pay attention.
Right.
Or Katy Perry or Justin Bieber. Like those are like the highest Twitter followers or something.
Right. Right.
So I would say, be Chris. Like just like don't shape yourself on the bullshit of others. So including me. I'm in that category.
Facts, dude. Thank you for like spending your morning with me and hanging out and getting a little dangerous in our conversation and pushing it a little bit. Like that's awesome. I think super valuable for me. I had a ton of fun and I'm really, really grateful that you were able to like show up and give me your time and attention and like share all of this with this community. This is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, Chris, you have something. Don't let the world oppress it. Like, do not stop. And that is how I could help. I'm always here with an opinion, advice, or direction, right? Like, just don't stop. Like, because I don't know a lot of people like you, other than, actually, I don't really know anybody like you. So I just don't want you to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I almost feel like I want to kind of like pass the baton a little bit, like in that kind of way.
Right.
Because let me share this one last piece. And then I was sitting down with, and I won't say his name because this is a little bit negative, although it was awesome. So I had a mentor as an entrepreneur, and he was an entrepreneur himself, but a more experienced one. And he wound up selling his company, and he literally got a deposit of like $52 million or something like that. And I called him right after that. No, it's just money. I called him after that, and I was like, hey, name.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, Dave. And he goes, well, this is what he said. I was like, how's it feel? He's like, well, I don't really feel any different. And he goes, except for I don't have to worry about money anymore. And I don't I will never know who my real friends are. And so that's the end piece of it. But going back to when he was an entrepreneur, more experienced, and we were eating at this really cheap, because we're entrepreneurs, Oriental restaurant, Asian food, right? And I always butcher those terms, but so he goes, well, the first question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to be rich or jet rich? That's what he said to me. And I was like, and the question totally caught me. Now remember, this is way before he made money, right?
Right.
And I told the end, because if it goes back to this, and I was like, I don't want to be either of those things.
Yeah.
I just want to do what I care about, and I want to have it impact other people in a quiet kind of way.
Right.
Not quiet like I'm quiet, but quiet like if credit never comes back, I don't, why do I, that's not why I'm doing this, you know?
Right.
And I think this baton comment that I made is, I think that you have that. So I will help you in any way I can. And if I get it wrong, let me know. And if you need any help that I'm not aware of, I'm in. Like, if the answer is already yes, just tell me. Cool? Do it.
Dude, you're the best.
I'm trying. Never short on effort.
You brought a full circle, dude. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks so much, Dave. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I'm so glad that you're part of my life.
Yeah, right back at you, dude. You inspire me. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, buddy. All right. I'll see you soon.
See you, buddy. Bye.
Later.